News Limited launched iPad apps for two of its major mastheads today, with another two to follow next month. The Daily Telegraph and Herald Sun apps are now available on a monthly subscription of $7.99, with both also featuring content from their related Sunday papers. Brisbane's Courier-Mail and the Adelaide Advertiser will be available in December. I caught up with the editors of all four newspapers to chat about the new apps.
I think the market isn't big today, but it's growing at this incredible exponential rate. So, we know there are about 300,000 iPads that have been sold in Australia so far, and that's just in a few months. We also know that Australians are amazing early adopters of technology when it comes in. There's 2 mobile phones now in this country for every one living person. So we know how fascinated they are by new technology. They were among the first in the world to go and get big plasma TV screens. And what that says to you is that they love not just the technology, but the way that you can interact with it. And I think all indications are from overseas as well that tablets in whatever form they are going to be here to stay for a long time. So
we've done some research in Adelaide which hasn't been published yet, which shows that 25% of people in South Australia think that they'll have a tablet in the next year. So in a state of 1.5 million people, you suddenly see, hey, there's going to be a big market.
25%.
Yeah. 25%. So even if it's only 10%, you're still talking about a lot of tablets, and it's going to be more than 10%.
If you have a look at this time of the year too, everyone's saying it's going to be a tablet Christmas.
Yeah.
So everyone's going to be rushing out there and buying one tablet or another as a Christmas gift. So
our readers moving really fast, and our job is to stay, if not ahead of them, then certainly with them, to reflect how they're getting their news. We can't afford in this space to be behind them in any way, and I think that's what we've done. Maybe Fairfax have been slow off the mark. Maybe they can wait, but I don't think in this environment you can afford to wait.
I don't think there's much doubt that tablets are going to be successful. So I suppose there's no real reason to sit back. I think to be out there having a bit of fun with it and trying to be as quick as we can says a lot about the type of enthusiasm there is around the place.
I think the last few years have been a big wake-up call for old-fashioned or old-style newspaper companies, and we don't even see ourselves as that anymore. So you're sort of like a 24-hour publishing company. But if you think back in the old days when newspapers were not ahead of their readers but were well behind them, and that perennial issue of how do you get younger readers to read your product. Well, in the old days we go, let's do a section in the paper once a week for young people. So we'll call it groovy, or we'll pick another word that hasn't been used for 20 years, and we'll get that big old bloke with a beard to sit in the corner and produce it for us. And those days are well over, and this tablet is an indication of how far we've come, I think. They're actually different people. The people who read the paper, the people who come to the website are coming there for different reasons, and they snack. They come in, they use the web differently than the way they use the paper or the tablets from what we've seen in the research so far. So, what this is an opportunity to sort of instead of just releasing a story in a newspaper and it thuds on the front lawn of someone at 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning, and our story there, a big splasher, a big exclusive that we start the day and we drive the agenda, that's out there, and then we lose it because suddenly the radio stations are all over it. This is an opportunity for us to own the news agenda throughout that 24-hour cycle. So whether or not they're getting the paper on their doorstep or their iPad early morning edition, they're downloading it at 6 a.m. or 6:30, they'll get continuous updates during the day so they can track that story. And we know that the peak viewing times on the web, online for our sites, is between 10 and 2, so that we can sort of structure the way that we release our stories right through the day, and it'll actually give us ownership of the big stories that in the end we created anyway.
And there's no question that as the market develops, people will be used to reading their news in a combination. There'll always be people, particularly older people, I suppose, who want to read newspapers, but there'll be other people who have a relationship with those through the entire day, from the newspaper to the app, and probably even online when they're at work, and we'll be able to cater to that.
It's a question of choice. Yeah. It's not for us to decide how our readers want to read us. They'll decide how they want to read us. If they want to get us on An iPad, great. If they want to get us on through print or a mobile phone or through a website, that's up to them. But our job is to be across all those platforms so that they can decide where they want to get their news.
Yeah.
They'll decide.
And we're best placed too. Newspapers. We employ more people than anyone else. We've got more journalists. We work harder at it, and so that gives us, I think, a natural advantage when you're talking about a continuous news cycle.
In Queensland, the Courier-Mail is the biggest source of news and information for the state. So if you have 3 platforms where news is always available and updated, I mean, it's a pretty good service I think we provide to our readers, and that's, I think, part of the jigsaw coming together.
The bundling with print is certainly something that we'll be moving towards. I think, once again, it's a question of choice. So if somebody wants to get the printed product once a week, they can. But they can also get our website when we move towards a paywall, and also the iPad app as well. Once again, it's choice. Up to the readers when they want us. If they want the paper once, twice, 3 times a week, 7 days a week, great. But they can also get all these other things thrown in. It's a question of brand. If they want the Herald Sun brand, they can get it in whichever platform they want.
One of the, I reckon probably for the first time, and I've been in newspapers for almost 30 years in and out, but this is one of the few times that I've seen anything launched where there are so many unknowns and so many, where the expectations are not, and the deliverables are completely different. So that's one of the beauties of being in on this. It's like the first steam printing press 200 years ago that transformed printing. Suddenly we're on this sort of verge of transforming not only the way that we work, but the way that we interact with readers. And anything could be possible. And so you go into work every day now not thinking you've just got to produce this thing at 10 o'clock at night, but you don't know what the outcome will be. And, these tablets will be around for a long time, but I don't know if suddenly we'll be doing Star Wars styles 3-dimensional delivery of news on your coffee table, in 5 years' time as well.
There's no question before very long there'll be a 3D tablet. In fact, I think we're already trying.
Yeah.
So,
Look, it is the most exciting time in journalism. I know there's a view around the world that there's this view that newspapers in trouble, etc. But newspapers in Australia aren't in trouble in any way like the United States or the UK. In fact, they're very strong in Australia. So on top of that, we're giving them the choice of another platform on top of the website as well. So I think it's an exciting time to be in journalism, probably the most exciting time, because you're only limited by your own creativity.
And why has there been a newspaper closing once every 2 weeks in the States on average over the last few years? Because they don't actually listen to their readers.
And I think one thing that characterises our papers, and this would be all of them, is we have a very close relationship with our readers. I think because we listen and we work at it, but I think also too, Australian readers have this great sense of community, and the newspaper is part of their community, and they feel that they actually own a part of the newspaper, and so they actually want the paper, whether they love us or not many people hate us that not to buy the papers, but they love to have the opportunity to have an opinion and to have some interaction. So this just gives us more advantages because they can take us wherever they go.
They're actually guiding our news agenda now, because we're going to our 10 a.m. morning conference now, and the first briefing that we get is from online, and it's not about how many people are reading each story, it's about what the comments are. So we know what's heating up, what buttons are being pushed, and how aggressive they are. And there's only one unifying thread, is that there's 380,000 people out there who all think they can edit the paper better than me. And I'm not going to argue with them.
I think as well, at the Courier-Mail, we're selling more papers now than we did 5 years ago. Now we've gone from broadsheet to compact in that time, but our circulation from 5 years ago is up, and not by only a few thousand copies. So if you look at that long term thing, it's quite encouraging, and obviously they're challenging times for the printed product. But if you can't be excited about what's happening at the moment, you're pretty hard to get pleased, I think.
Nick Evershed reporting for the NPA.